sensitive information on shares. So I have never been on a network to date where I have not found critical risk on the shares. It is absolutely a treasure trove. It's one of my favorite things to do is dig through shares. And you have to think about it. Ask yourself the question, do you know what data a standard user has in your environment on the shares? Probably, it's been my experience, most people have no idea. They think they do, but have you tested it? I will spend on an engagement, we usually have an engineer spend a full day or multiple days looking at the shares to dig out information because it's usually just that full of wins, that full of PHI, passwords. On a most recent engagement, I mean, I got, and this happens a lot actually, a spreadsheet with the login credentials and URLs and IPs for all the infrastructure, VMware, switches, all the cameras, you name it, all in there. And it was a password protected spreadsheet, but the password was in a file in the same directory. So, it's stuff like that, right? We're going back to this, the human element of it all. Shares become wild places to be, tons of data, tons of PHI, tons of risk. And most places don't have a good way to manage that. So what I do, and what I recommend customers do if they haven't done this yet, is to audit those shares. There's a free tool called Snaffler. You can download that. It does require you compile it, and then you can run it. And it uses it has its own built-in regular expression. You can modify that before you compile it. But that will basically pull out, even in default settings, a ton of good data for you to analyze. Like it'll find passwords for you and configuration files and code that's put out there, pull out database creds, things like that. And going through that, it'll be a big list. It'll take probably, for a large organization, 3 days to run. You can also point it specifically at a server or a share if you just want to look at one. By default, it's going to try to do the whole domain. So, that will speed it up if you know, hey, this is my one share that I wanted to analyze. You could just point it at that with the UNC path. So that's a really good tool that, we use on our pen tests and red teams, mostly more of a pen test tool. It is pretty noisy, but you can use it too. There's, it's just something you kick off. It doesn't require a ton of time. You let it run and then you can analyze the data afterward and find it's not riddled with false positives. It gives you a ton of good actionable data. Web application flaws. I bring this up because, especially on healthcare networks, everything tends to have a web app. A lot of this specific health technology somehow has a web app on the internal network. You may not realize it does, but it does. And it contributes to a lot of risk we find we go into networks. And a lot of this risk starts from the customer or organization not having understanding of what web applications they have in their network. What I suggest is sort of a twofold approach here. You can take the data from your network-based vulnerability scanner or Nmap and essentially take that and bring it over to a free tool called GoWitness. It's a very powerful tool. What it does is, say you have like 1,000 URLs after you've done your extract, port 80, 443, 8443, 8080, all your web ports, and you see, I got about 1,000 URLs here on my internal network. You can feed it to GoWitness, and it will create an HTML report for you that might be like a few pages long, and it just puts a screenshot of the landing page. So what this gives you is a really good bird's eye view, situational awareness of all your applications in your environment. And then you can kind of see like, what is that over there? That appliance. Let me go over to that and see like this. Can we turn this off? Does this need to be here? Like you can start having those questions, and that can reduce a lot of risk right there, even without having to do a lot of the fancy higher skill requirement web hacking. To help you with the web hacking part, you can make use of a pretty inexpensive tool called Burp Suite Professional if you haven't started to use that. Admittedly, it does take more skill to run. It is not as much of just a point-and-click scanning tool. It does have that capability, but a lot of the strength there is going to be having somebody that understands how to do web application flaws and finding them. Definitely worth developing in-house or having some outsourced resource that can help you with that and some periodicity throughout your lifespan here. But that is what I suggest. At least you can do this. You can go back and run GoWitness and give you a ton of good visibility into your internal applications and help you make that risk-based decision. What I find is there are a lot of stuff in the healthcare technology that has apps that don't need to be turned on. So you can probably just turn off the web server feature and just eliminate the risk or reduce the risk significantly there. Now this is very near and dear to my heart. Probably the most fun I have is looking at Active Directory data, which definitely says a lot about me. But I really, really love doing this because it's a feature-rich environment for risk. I love finding risk.